Hi, it's Nicole, and it's time to look at some of the August clubs. I work with the stitching die of the month, and this month it is the hand folded hugs. So the dies build like a cute little origami sailboat, and to get started, it is the always never ending struggle to pick a color combination. This is a PDF that I created to use for the color wheel cardstock. I prefer having all of the colors together. I will put a link down below and in the eye above where you can find more information on this. This is just kind of, like I said, my preferred method. I like seeing everything together, and as I'm die cutting stuff, I can kind of see what things look next to other colors, if that makes sense. So to get started, I cut the boat pieces with some white cardstock. The pieces that are designed to be stitched on, I did go ahead and I cut two of those, and I'm going to stack them and just glue them together. This kind of just makes them a little bit more sturdy for the stitching. And before I do the stitching, I did go ahead and just poke out any of the holes that didn't come out during the die cutting process. They do come out pretty easily when you stitch. Sometimes I just like to go ahead and pop them all out kind of before I get started. So here you can see what I was talking about. I go ahead and layer them together. I do try to make sure I'm getting glue kind of above and below the stitching holes, just to kind of keep everything together. And I only die cut one piece of like the base that all of these kind of get attached to. I didn't really feel like that one needed some extra support or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and get started stitching on these. This was a really easy one to stitch. This one was, quick and fun to kind of put together. I'm going to do tone on tone stitching. I like to use just regular DMC embroidery thread. This is 6 strands. Most of the time I will go ahead and split it into 3 strands. And some of these pieces are really small, so I'm going to go ahead and just anchor the end of the thread with some tape, and I'm going to tape the both ends of the thread. Normally I would go ahead and do like a knot, but knowing that the assembly of this, like these are going to kind of get stacked on top of each other, I was worried about anything kind of being like lumpy. So when I use the tape, I just take either like a bone folder or some kind of tool to kind of burnish that tape really good and kind of make sure that the thread is, as secure as I can possibly get it. Sometimes when I'm done, I'll go in and just put a couple drops of glue and kind of spread it with my finger just to kind of make sure nothing's going to come apart. I will say typically, at least the cards that I make with the stitching die, they tend to be a little bit more dimensional, a little bit more bulky. So these are the ones that I typically will just kind of think of people that I see in person that I would potentially give these to, hand delivered type of thing. I don't know that I would want to put these through the mail unless I was using like a bubble mailer or something like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and assemble this cute little folded boat. I'm using tweezers to kind of hold things together. Sometimes the stitching dies, like I said, they can be a little bit bulky after you've stitched them, but either using weights or tweezers to kind of attach everything while the glue is drying works really good. I did pull up the assembly instructions and the overall idea that comes on the back of the die set to try to figure out where I was going to go from here. I decided I wanted to do kind of just like soft and muted. So I pulled out fog cardstock for my base, and then I also cut out of that same fog cardstock one of the ovals from the Essential Stylish Ovals. I love this set. I think it's a good basic. I also cut out not full ovals. Here you can see like just kind of on the edge. of two of the blue colors. I actually have all of my cardstock in another room because I'm die cutting a ton of stuff today. I will link down below the specific colors that I used. Like I said, you can still see my little swatch sheet over there. I keep that thing either in front of me or to the side of me when I'm picking colors. So I went and cut some pieces with that same oval, and then I'm going to bring in this like edge die that's also part of the stitching die of the month, and cut some wave edges on this. Now I am going to have to recut these. I wasn't really thinking at this point about the dimension of my finished sailboat. So I will go ahead and glue these on here. I love that when you kind of take the time to do like die cutting tricks like this, everything kind of fits in together really well just because everything's been cut with that same oval. It's something that I love seeing, and I need to remember to do this more. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down even though it's gonna get covered up, but it's fine. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead, prep my card base. Like I said, this is the fog color. I really just loved how soft all of these colors looked together. I'm going to put that oval popped up with some foam adhesive. This is some 2mm size foam strips. And then I like to use thinner foam adhesive to kind of build my die cut pieces. So I'm going to pull in some 1mm squares and put the little folded boat together. I'm only kind of putting the foam back here where this front layer is going to go, and then I'm going to take some liquid glue and kind of glue the corners down so it really kind of gives it that folded look. Here's where I realized I can't tuck this dimensional boat back behind here, so I cut 2 more of those like water pieces. I popped the light blue one up with foam tape, kept it away from that die cut edge so that I could tuck the boat in. I'm going to come in and die cut a couple extra pieces from the set. So I got the little like flagpole, this cute little like banner piece is meant to cut 2 and then they layer together. So like every other banner is a different color. And then this front wave, I really wanted to have like an embossed sentiment. So I just kind of dug through my stamp sets and really just looked for anything that had like water, not even water, just anything that kind of went with that that cute little sailboat. All of my stamps are super old. I don't pay attention to what's new or what's retired. Like I said, I just kind of found something that really fit within that space. And I'm going to go ahead and emboss it with some white embossing powder. This is another thing that I feel like I want to do more of. I feel like I get going on the die cutting and I die cut everything, including sentiments. And I forget about some of these fun things like embossing. So I feel like I need to get better about kind of pulling out older stamps and just kind of mixing sentiments and stuff. Now I did want to add some little details. So I die cut from some gray cardstock, just some tiny hearts. I look for tiny pieces like this in other dies as well as like confetti style dies. I have a bunch of these. And it wasn't until I went to put the dies away for the stitching die of the month that I realized there was a little heart in the set, but it got lost on my desk. So there is a heart included in this one that I probably could have used. So I just added 3 of those on there. They are 2 layers thick. And that completed my card. I loved how like visually simple this was, but there's a lot of dimension and a lot of interest going on. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to subscribe if you have not done that. Leave me any comments down below. Give me a thumbs up, and I will catch you guys later. Bye!